I'm Sean from Shootie School, and I make the most elite EZdrummer 3 tutorials on the internet. And today I present to you the easy guide to EZdrummer 3. The market for this video would be people who are just getting into Toontrack, someone who's just bought EZdrummer 3 and it's day one, or people who've been using EZdrummer 3 but just haven't explored all the features yet. If you're an advanced user, you're in the right place, you're just not watching the right video. Check out my channel, Shootie School. I have an entire catalog of beginner, intermediate, and advanced videos on EZdrummer 3 and other Toontrack products. Let's get started. If you haven't installed EZdrummer 3 yet, check out my installing EZdrummer 3 video. It's in the description. It will give you a head start, okay? So now, when we launch EZdrummer 3 for the first time, we'll be presented with the Drums tab and a beautiful graphic of the drums, and we can just start clicking on stuff, and it will be interactive, and we can audition what these drums sound like right out of the gate. And let me take a real quick break just to make sure everybody's here and following along. If you can't hear anything, or if you're plugging a keyboard or a drum pad into EZdrummer and you want to control it, let's just make sure those people are with us right now. If you go to Settings, and you go down to the bottom option, Audio MIDI Setup, this first drop down will tell you all your options to output audio on your computer. And you might see below a device, meaning select an audio interface or an alternate driver. Now, if that doesn't make sense to you, that's okay, because I have a configuring audio with your Toontrack software video. It's down below. That will take care of you. So now you guys should be able to hear yourself or hear EZdrummer now. And down here, if you have an E-kit, a keyboard, or a finger drummer MIDI controller, you should see it in the list here, and you simply select it and check it, and EZdrummer should be responding to what you do now. That should make you all set, and if that's not the case, I have a setting up your MIDI devices with Toontrack software video as well. That's down below. And lastly, for E-drummers, keyboard players, and finger drummers, if you go to Settings and go to eDrums MIDI, this whole page interface right here will help you customize your experience, but you should at least be hearing yourself by now. Now that we're ready to rock and roll, if you select a drum, you'll notice there's an orange outline around it, meaning that instrument's selected and it can be configured and manipulated. And if we look up here in the upper left, you can also right-click a drum to get these options, but you get more options up here in the upper left. You can actually change its attributes. I can change the volume. I can change the tuning. Let's just say I don't have access to a piccolo snare, so I want to fake one. It's possible. And better than that, if you select this square up here, which is a drop-down menu, and you only have EZdrummer 3 installed like I do on this computer, here's your options for snares. Here's a Black Beauty if you wanted one. Well, you do. It's a Black Beauty. More instruments actually came with EZdrummer 3. It just depends on what library you have selected. So besides us customizing each instrument, you should acknowledge that these instruments derive from libraries. And when you buy EZdrummer 3, it comes with 3 libraries. And this isn't the standard with all Toontrack products, but here's the scoop with EZdrummer 3. It comes with 3 separate libraries, and the segregation is this: the locations they were recorded in. One was recorded, probably all at the same studio, in a bright room, which is where you get a more piercing hard rock metal sound from, but not just limited to those genres. That's what I use it for. The main room, which is just that real, typical, absolutely beautiful, flawless, typical drum tone, which is the default. Or a tight room, which would be a less ambient and even muffled sound. Thinking funk for some reason, maybe older funk from decades ago. And as you select these 3 different rooms, you may have access to different instruments and sounds, okay? We're going to do the main room today because that's the default of EZdrummer 3. So now we know we can select a different library. We can come on the Drums tab and we can manipulate our sounds and customize this kit. So we're already creating and customizing a kit, and we actually don't have to know very much. You can just start working. And supposedly we already have a custom sound that's our own and not a default sound. Let's get EZdrummer to play a groove for us. In the Toontrackian language, a groove is actually a MIDI file. So if you go on the Grooves tab and you look in this light brown area, the thousands of MIDI files that came with EZdrummer 3, they're all piled into this area right here. They're not organized yet. We'll get to that later. It's an amazing process. But here's the grooves right here, which are MIDI files. MIDI files are instructions on what beat for EZdrummer 3 to play. So I'll just grab this and I'll bring it down to what's called the song track. We don't call this a timeline, even though that's what it is and how it behaves. The Toontrackian language is song track. And one cool thing is, especially for people that are just throwing on a guitar and just want to jam and work out to some drum beats, after you put your groove in your song track, up here in the ruler where we can see measure numbers, you just click and drag. And I'm just clicking and dragging a little loop point, a nice little loop point. And I'll put my playhead right here just by clicking in this area, place my playhead, and I can just hit play. So let's hear a groove. You'll notice on the drums tab, it's playing that custom drum kit I played, and it's fantastic. So now that we have a beat up, let's check out what the relation between the drums tab and the mixer tab is. Even though one's 3 tabs over and they seem far apart, they're very related. If I go over to the mixer tab, this will act like a typical mixing board interface you see in software. You can adjust volumes. I'm bringing down the snare right now, bringing up the snare. I can mute the snare. Even though we can still hear the snare, if you're familiar with advanced drum software like this, you know the snare is probably bleeding through the overhead microphones as well. But we're muting the snare microphones. We can solo them. We can pan them. Not that I would pan a snare, but we can pan the hi-hat. It's in the right ear now. It's in the left ear now. Okay. Typical mixing board duties. What's cool about the EZdrummer 3 mixer is that you can just click and audition stuff, which is a great utility if you're playing around in this area. And something that a lot of first timers don't understand right out of the gate is there are effects. And when you use different presets, which we're about to cover, you have a different style or an amount of effects to use. So it seems pretty limited on this default Studio Basic preset. We only get to control the bleed, which is quite important, and the saturation. It says tape drive, which is saturation. So that's all the effects we get on this single preset, okay? And the reason why I wanted to explain the drums tab and the mixer tab next to each other is because when you use presets, if you're used to audio software, presets are what the manufacturer provides, so you can drastically change your sounds with a click of a button and get completely different flavors and vibes, right? So we're on the Studio Basic preset. Remember, our libraries are here. We're on the Studio Basic preset. If I click this, I'll see this line and above it, there's 3 options. 2 of them are drop downs. One says original mix. Here's all the different presets we can choose, and we're using the Studio Basic preset under the 𝗂𝐿berT drop down menu, who is the audio engineer that recorded this fantastic project. As we can see, Basic is selected. And to backtrack a little bit, under Basic, we only have these effects, and we have this channel layout. As we switch from 𝗂𝐿berT's preset to, let's say, a Toontrack preset called, let's just use Songwriter 𝗪𝗡. Notice the effects changed. Now we have reverb and compression instead of bleed and saturation. And look, our channel count just went down big time, but look, we have effects we can control in here. It's a different layout. So everything's a completely different flavor on how Toontrack or the engineer wanted to present to you this specific sound preset. They're called library presets if you mouse over and read the tooltip. But if you click on it, it says drum and mixer presets, which is a lot more syllables, so I call them library presets until someone from Toontrack finally corrects me and tells me what to call them. Notice how much different this sounds. Hopefully it does. I haven't done this before. Oh, it's a big change. That reverb is crazy different. Everything's different about this. We're actually missing a tom now. And if we right click, we'll notice that, look, they swapped out the snare. You can actually jam along with this beat if you wanted. I'm just seeing if they're changing the tunings and the volumes, which they didn't in this preset, but in some they will. So that gives you an idea of the power of changing presets. When you change a preset from one to the other, you'll get different effects available only for that preset. You'll get a different channel layout, but here's the conclusion. You'll also get different drums on the drums tab. Different drums will be swapped out, like when we change drums, and different drum settings, volume and pitch, will be changed. So that's how much is changing when you change a library preset, which is any of these three options. Some are really big, where you have a lot to work with. Some are really small, where you have little to work with. Regardless, you choose the one you like the sound of, and then you start manipulating it to what you want from there. And the last thing about library presets, we've covered the drums tab, we've covered the mixer tab. Last thing about the presets is when you find one you like and you've manipulated it the way you want. I'm doing mixer settings, I'm panning stuff, I'm changing the effects amount, and I'm swapping out drums that I would rather hear. When you've made your own thing, then you save your own library preset, which is gold. You go under User Presets, and you go Save As. And I'll just call this the Shootie Kit. And now we can recall this anytime. We can recall it in standalone mode, which is what I'm using right now, or you can load EZdrummer 3 into your DAW, and you can recall this preset in your DAW with whatever songs you're working on, or I can put it in an email and send it out to you, and you can load up my preset. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. So that's the drums tab, that's the mixer tab, and that's presets and how to save your work as a user preset. And since I mentioned DAW, I'll just cover it right now real quick. I'm not going to cover it in depth in this video, but when you open your DAW of choice, you look for your Toontrack plugins, you'll see EZdrummer right there. You load it up and you use EZdrummer in your DAW, and it will sync to your DAW's timeline. It is a seamless workflow, and I've got plenty of videos on my channel that chat about it. I think the features I just covered would be the most interesting to someone's first impression of EZdrummer 3. I'm going to move a little faster over the rest of the amazing features, enough to get you started. And if you find yourself asking, man, I wish Sean covered that more in this video, just know that I probably already have in great detail on my channel. So simply go there and search for that feature, or ask me below, and I'll let you know where that video is. I teach EZdrummer 3 more than Toontrack does in any other third-party paid service. So if you find yourself wanting to invest time into this software, you should subscribe to me right now, because you do not want to lose track of what I'm up to. Let's keep moving. Let's hop over to the Grooves tab. Here is where all the MIDI that came with EZdrummer 3 is stored, or any other Toontrack products you bought, or any other third-party MIDI products you bought. It's all stored here. I only have the EZdrummer 3 installed right now, and there's thousands of MIDI files to go through right here in this light brown area, which is a search results area. Since that's a search results area, that means we might want to add some criteria to filter those results, okay? So if I was looking for a beat that was a blues beat, and I didn't want a straight blues, I wanted a shuffle blues, so I'll select this shuffle filter under play style. There's different columns segregating what you can select, and I'm playing in 4/4, and I want the drummer's dominant hand, the one that plays the most notes, that holds the beat together, to be a ride. Now my search results window went from thousands of files to about 20 or so. Now we've filtered our search. Now let's hit play on a MIDI file, which is called a groove. And there we have a blues shuffle in 4/4 with a ride as the power hand. So that's how you use these filters. They're extremely powerful, okay? I'll just hit this clear all button so I reset this entire page. Another way to look through your Grooves tab page is to start from the folder point of view instead of the filters. And if I start exploring these just simply by clicking on them, it will open up into segregated folders that are segregated by genre and play style. So if I wanted a pop rock song in straight 4/4, I would select this, and now it breaks out into individual songs of the genre. So if I wanted to check out pushy slow, which is intended to be played back at 76 BPMs, even though we're playing at 120 in our project settings, I would select this. And here's all the intro beats for this song. And here's 4 options for an intro to this pushy slow song. If I wanted to temporarily hear that at 76 BPMs, because we're at 120, I could just hit the original tempo button. And now here's the tempo that the drummer who performed this MIDI, humans perform this MIDI, by the way. This is not a drum machine coming up with these beats. Humans perform this. And here's the tempo at which the human did perform it at. And if I wanted to hear the verse to pushy slow, I'd select the verse folder and hit play. A fantastic beat right there. So that's the Grooves tab. You can search from a folder standpoint and go right, or you can search from a filters standpoint and come from the top. It's a fantastic tab. It does about 8,000 times more than what I'm presenting here. I have a whole series on this tab. Check it out below. And before we go, which I don't want to get in too much, is this tap to find feature. This does collaborate with the search results area, and I'll give you one example. If you've ever heard the song Pretty Woman by Roy Orbison, let me just tap that out real quick. And this is more like a step sequencer. You can see it, the blocks visually going from left to right in linear time. And I already kind of understand about manual drum programming, so this might not be as easy for you, but watching me do it real quick, it might be intuitive, okay? Pretty Woman is something like this. Let's hear that. Now, tap to find has many purposes, but I'm just going to show you the main purpose right now. You can actually compose with it and do different things, which I cover on my channel. But here's the main purpose. If I tap out that really raw, bare bones version of Pretty Woman and I hit search, here's that groove that I just tapped out right here. This groove that I just tapped out is instructing EZdrummer that I want library grooves that human drummers have performed that we purchased with EZdrummer 3 to sound like this, and it will return results to me that will sound similar to that. Let's hear the first one. That's pretty darn close. All I did was tap my idea in here, hit search, and then look at my search results area. And now I have drum beats that sound like what I tapped out in Tap to Find's step sequencer. It's pretty cool, huh? Let me talk about the song creator feature real quick. Super powerful feature. Let's pretend you spent a while in EZdrummer and you found the perfect beat. Let's pretend it's the one we just found that derived from the Pretty Woman beat. Let's pretend this beat is so good that it can represent what an entire song's vibe should be. Enter the song creator. The song creator is not in your face. It's this little button right here. If we drag this beat groove to this button, it will launch the song creator using this beat as its main criteria, like this. Now, this looks graphical and cool, but if you go from arrangement to song parts, EZdrummer 3 has analyzed the beat that you just dragged to it, which now lives right here, and it's tried to predict some Nostradamus action. What the intro might sound like for this beat, what a verse might sound like for this beat, a pre-chorus, a chorus, a bridge, which as we can see, our beat is actually right here. Here's the source file. And what some fills and endings might sound good to this beat, it's the song creator. It's trying to create an entire song around that one beat we fed to it as criteria. It's amazing. So that might be a good intro to your song, like this. Here's a verse. That might be a good verse. Here's a pre-chorus. I'm working quickly as opposed to diligently here. And here's a chorus that might sound good to that beat. Here is the beat that I created. That might make a good bridge. And here's some fills that might sound good to that beat. You just drag the fills on top of your grooves here in the song track if you want. Maybe I want this fill right here at the end of the bridge. So technically, I might have made a full song right there. Song Creator actually does much more when you go into the Arrangements tab. Here's some arrangements I've made myself. We can go down to the bottom, and here's an arrangement that goes ABC, ABC, which means verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse, pre-chorus, chorus. Here's like a default song structure you can use. I can just grab this whole song structure that derives from this beat and instantly have a brand new song. Like that. That's the Song Creator. I have an entire 3-video series from beginner, intermediate to advanced. Check it out on my channel. Since we're already working in the song track, let's just talk about some really basic editing to get you started real quick. Below down here is like a world view or a scroll bar. And you can grab the ends and zoom in and zoom out. Or you can grab the bar itself and scroll left to right horizontally. Down here in the transport, I already told you about a loop. You can click and drag in the ruler area and get a loop going, which highlights loop automatically. I can disable this loop by clicking on it or clicking on this bar, on the loop bar itself. Stop, play. What we can do is record. So if you have your 𝐂𝐻ED or your MIDI controller, I'll just set up a loop point in a blank area of my song track, hit record, then hit play. And you could be playing on your 𝐂𝐻ED right now, recording your performance, or you could go over to the drums tab and just click it in. And you can see those little tiny dots in there. It recorded what I just clicked. That's one form of recording. I'll hit undo. Undo, redo works in EZdrummer. And when you're in your DAW, it should work as well, as long as EZdrummer is in focus. You can adjust the time signature and the tempo, or if you can do time signature and tempo changes in your song track by selecting this menu. There's no master fader on the mixer tab, but here's a slider that represents a master fader right here. This MIDI will just give you menus that we already talked about in the settings up here earlier in the video. And this grayed out in out text will let you know if you're receiving or sending MIDI. It's just an indicator. And then when we come up here, we can actually just grab a beat, a groove, and just move it around. We could right-click on it and get a ton of options. Some options we've actually covered or will cover. They're features of EZdrummer, and a lot of them are just editing options. There are quite a few. I'll just remove this beat. I'll right-click on this beat, and I'll select Cut, just like a word processing program. I'll put my cursor or my playhead somewhere else, and I'll right-click and I'll hit Paste. In this case, paste all, and then I just move that beat from here to here. Or I can copy a beat, meaning duplicate, and paste it somewhere. I can draw a marquee around a full section of my song and copy and paste full sections at a time. So you can see how we can just build out songs really fast and manipulate ideas. So that should help you get started with editing in the song track. And real quick, since I didn't cover it in the Grooves tab, and since it's a song track feature, I'm going to close the Song Creator. If I select a beat and I want to hot swap it out with a different one, but not have to do a bunch of dragging and dropping, I can hit Midi Replace, meaning we will take this beat and replace it with whatever beat on the Grooves tab I wish instantly. So I'll hit Replace Midi. As we can see, this is now highlighted orange, and whatever beat I select in the search results area and select Save Changes to will instantly edit and replace the beat I originally selected. And before I do that, I can actually play it first to make sure I agree. Let's pretend I want that beat instead of the one I had before. I hit Save Changes, bam. This chord beat just got swapped out real time. It's fantastic. Let's talk about the Edit Playstyle feature. It's amazing. I'm going to use this simple backbeat right here. I'll drag it to my song track. I'll loop it. This time I'll right-click and select Set Loop Area, and I can just hit play. From here, I can right-click and go to Edit Playstyle, and it launches the feature full screen. Similar to the Drums tab visually, I'm going to select the instrument I want to work on. You could actually work on all drums at the same time if you wish. I'm just going to use the kick in this example. And for those of you that do not do grid editing, piano roll editing, or just don't know any better, don't know how to edit drums, you can generically ask Edit Play Style to give you more or less of an instrument. Not volume, but the amount of hits. It's fantastic. It's an algorithm, so it's not going to be perfect every time, but give it a shot. It's amazing. The kick drum is selected, and I simply turn up or down the amount knob. Listen to the kick drum. Right? I'll do the opposite. I'll take more away. It's fantastic. And the same with velocity. If you want your drummer to hit harder or softer, use velocity. I'll turn down the velocity on the kick drum and listen to its dynamics. It's pretty awesome, huh? And if you really want to focus on an instrument, you can solo it up right here. That's Edit Play Style. Let's look at the grid editor. I'll double click this groove and launch it into the grid editor. Now, you may be used to editing drums in a piano roll in your DAW, which is a vertical keyboard, and you kind of have to know what key triggers what drum. EZdrummer 3 streamlines that process and adds some options and some features that are exclusive to only drum editing that DAWs typically don't have. So it's a good thing. I've been using a piano roll for over 20 years, and when I ran into EZdrummer 3's grid editor and superiors, I quickly switched over because it does do more than the average piano roll. Anyway, visually it's laid out better. It's not keys of a keyboard. You can actually visually see the instruments. You can click on them, audition them. You can solo them and mute them just like you can on the mixer tab, except it's right here conveniently. You know, you adjust the resolution of your grid. I'll just select 8th note instead of auto, which is great. And things it can do that DAWs cannot do is have a humanization feature, meaning if you're not working with drums that have already been played by a human, that you can humanize them, which it's an AI algorithm, but it's better than nothing, and it's way better than humanizing by hand. So it's actually a really insanely great feature. And on top of humanizing beats, you actually have micro timing options for different genres. There's just a ton of stuff here. DAWs do not have this stuff, so this grid editor has a leg up in many ways. On top of that, there's even more features hidden in these menus. And before I go, I mean, this thing's on steroids. It's just, this is pretty advanced to teach right out of the gate. I've got plenty of videos on it so far. But before I go, let me just show a beginner something. Let's say we're not going to launch one of our grooves that we selected into the grid editor to edit it, but we just want to do something from scratch. Here's how you make a backbeat. This is great lesson 1 stuff in a grid editor. I'll grab the pencil. I selected my resolution to be 8th notes. So these vertical lines are 8th note durations. And I'll just put a kick on beat 1, beat 3. I'm looking at the ruler. See how we're at measure 43? This is beat 1 of measure 43. Here's beat 3 of measure 43. I'll do this pattern for 2 measures. And I'll put the snare on the 2, which if I zoom in a little more, I just revealed the second beat of beat 43 right here. I'll put the snare in between these kicks. And then I'll go to the hi-hat and I'll just click and drag throughout the entire 2-measure phrase. That's how easy it is to compose in the grid editor. And for those of you that are not familiar, that's a great first lesson on how to create a backbeat in a grid editor. There's an insane amount of information we could cover in this video, but this is the easy guide. So we'll just do one more feature, which seems to be the most popular feature of EZdrummer 3, and that's the Bandmate feature. If we go on the Bandmate tab, Bandmate is standing by. It's ready for us to give it an audio file from our computer, or it's ready for us to drag a MIDI file, like maybe from Easy Bass or some MIDI your buddy performed on keyboards. It's ready to drag a MIDI or an audio file into this drop zone. And that's what I'll do. On my desktop, I have a bunch of guitar riffs, and here's a thrash metal riff. and I'll just grab it and I'll drop it into this zone. Now Bandmate analyzed this riff and it said, hey, you recorded at 167, which I did. And to optimize Bandmate, you want to feed it audio or MIDI files that were recorded to a metronome that have a really tight performance, and you probably want to give it audio files that are really crispy and clean. In this case, I played thrash metal, but there's no distortion. It's just a clean guitar tone. So you don't want too many effects or too much gain on it, so Bandmate can better analyze and give you better results. So I'll hit OK. Here's my guitar riff up here. And here's a drum beat that Bandmate was like, hey, I got a beat for that. Here you go. Instantly, poof. Let's hear what it sounds like. Well, that's pretty cool. It did its job. It did what it's supposed to do. But this is a pop rock country drum beat with closed hi-hats. That doesn't really match my vibe. So I can go over here in the genre column and select what genre music that closest represents my riff. And then after you select the genre, you can select one of many different options of beats it thinks that will work. So here's open hi-hat A. Let's hear that. Yeah, that's way closer. Let me try this one. What's this, a fill? Whew, that's pretty cool. Let's say we love that. You can just grab this beat from right here and bring it to your song track and continue building your song. Or before we do that, we can look down here, and where it says amount, this is like a miniature edit play style, which we just covered. You can add more snares, more kick, or more hi-hat, and not volume, but the amount of hits. So let's just play with the kick drum, for example. You see these bottom dots? Those are kick drums. There's not many. Let's add more. Great. Let's say that's what we like. We like that amount of kick drum added to the beat that they pulled from over here. And now we can drag it down here, but if you want to edit the velocity of the entire beat, we can bring the velocity down to the entire performance, or we can add swing, which if you don't know what swing is, it's kind of dangerous. It will change your straight note durations to triplets. So tread lightly there, unless you know what's up. But let me just say he's hitting a little too hard. Now bring down the velocity. Let's hear it. Yeah. Now I can just grab this beat and bring it to my song track, and that is a insanely fast and very interesting way to find a drum beat, and it's invaluable to people who just don't have drum programming experience. This is Sean from Shootie School. I hope you enjoyed the easy guide to EZdrummer 3. I have 2 free Toontrack theme social and support groups on Facebook and on Discord. If I've ever made your day, please consider contributing to me so I can make more content for you. I have a YouTube members program and a Patreon for extra exclusive content. Links for all that are down below. Rock on.